Hey everyone, welcome to the first week of Economics Direct Instruction. I understand this is actually the second week of direct instruction that you've had through the district and the East Side building. I appreciate your patience last week. If you read my email, you know that I had a baby girl last week, and so I took a week off to kind of help things get settled, and she's doing healthy. Mrs. Paulson is doing great. I know some of you have asked, so thanks for reaching out. That was very kind of you, and from here on out, we're moving forward. So with economics, obviously, there's a lot that we didn't get to cover, and there's even a lot that we did cover that I didn't get to build upon, especially that supply and demand piece. If it's not the most important aspect of economics, it is right up there. It tells how our system, our society works, and hopefully you've been able to see some of that out in the real world lately with the coronavirus epidemic that's going on. Understand why prices of products are the way they are, why the price of gas has gone way down. There's been a low demand for gas compared with some stuff going on in the Middle East and Russia. But then also there's a price raise for most of our cleaning supplies, especially toilet paper, if you can find it. That's because there's a severe shortage. One thing we're not going to talk about, we didn't get to, were panics and what happens there. But if you're interested in that stuff, you can definitely reach out, and I've got materials you can read, and there's plenty of stuff online. So I got with the other economics teachers in the district, and we decided that probably the best thing for you, especially those of you who are seniors heading out into the real world, was the personal finance piece. Things that you can take with you that will help you financially as you move forward into your post-secondary life. These tools are really good for you. Again, they're not required for grades, but they can help you out, and it's just very vital, useful information for you to know. So this is how it's going to work every week. I'm going to make a little video like this that's going to give you some direct instruction. It'll be posted onto Google Classroom on the stream, and then beneath it there will be some sort of activity, whether it's a PDF or a form, for you to practice what we talked about. And then if you submit that to me, I can offer you any feedback. I'll let you know how you did. Just discuss in general anything that went along with that lesson. And then I'm also going to post the code to the Google Meet, where I will be for this class every Wednesday from 9 to 9:40. We can go a little later. Excuse me, if we have plenty of participation, and I can answer your questions and help you work through stuff there. So hopefully, if you have any questions, email, reach out, respond. What I would like everyone to do too is, even if you don't do the work, or you just engage with me a little bit every week, if you could log on to the Google Classroom, find the direct instruction assignment for that week, and just comment your name. Just post, your name. I would be Mr. Paulson. And that way I can keep track of how many of you are actually doing this and give credit as such for participation. Sound good? All right, well, let's get started with the first topic of discussion, and it's one that I think is really important. A lot of people don't do this much anymore because we live in an electronic age and things are done for you. We have online banking, we have online planners, Google can do things like this, but it's a very important skill for you to have. It's very easy and it has a lot of benefits, and that's called preparing a budget. So that's what we're going to work on today. So I'm going to minimize my screen here. Preparing a budget. Before we go into what a budget actually looks like, okay, there are several reasons we give for you to budget, and why it's important to actually sit down and create a budget for yourself once you get that job or that first job and your expenses start to roll in. The first reason we budget is, one, it gives you an idea on what you can and cannot afford. It's good to know what you can buy with the money you have. There are things you have to buy and there are things you don't have to buy, which we'll cover later. It'll just help you to survive. Also, a lot of people think, well, I kind of know how much I make and I know how much my goods cost me, and I don't really need to sit down and make a budget. I can always just go online banking and see how much money I have. And while that's true, it's really easy to nickel and dime yourself into a tough situation. And what I mean by nickel and dime is that phrase comes from the early 1900s when things actually cost a nickel and dime. They were cheap things people would just buy. They'd pull a nickel or dime out of their pocket. They didn't account for it. But a nickel here, a dime there, you spend enough nickels and dimes, eventually you've spent a whole dollar. And today, while nickels and dimes really don't carry much weight, you can nickel and dime yourself with small purchase items. One example I like to use is a daily cup of coffee. Maybe you go to Starbucks and you buy a cup of coffee for $3 every day. Okay, that doesn't seem like very much, especially let's say you have a job that pays you, you get a $200 a week paycheck. Okay, well, you go and you buy a $3 coffee every day. That $3 turns into $15 a week. Okay, that $15 a week turns into $60 a month that you've spent on coffee, and that's actually quite a bit if you're living on a fixed income like that. Now, coffee might be important to you, and you may include it in your budget or an energy drink or what have you, but you need to know exactly how your dollars are being spent and how much you can spend so you're not hit with overdraft fees or credit collections because you're unable to meet your other expenses. Second reason we prepare a budget is it's the best way to help you build wealth. Well, I would love for each and every one of you to go out and be a successful entrepreneur, start a business, create an invention, be a professional athlete, actor, musician, hit it big with the lottery. I mean, that'd be great. I would celebrate with you and be very happy for you. But the truth is 99.98% of us won't hit it big like that. But we can still build wealth. Remember, wealth is the total accumulation of all of your assets, cash, goods that you own over time. And when you build wealth, you become more financially free to do the things you want, buy the things you want, without being held to debt to other people. And then finally, it just gives you peace of mind. It helps you to live within your means. That's a term that we're going to hit on this week, as well as next week when we talk about credit. But basically, living a lifestyle that fits how much you make a month, or what your yearly salary is, what your hourly wage is. When you live within your means, you are not liable to anyone. You are not responsible to anyone but yourself. And there's freedom in that. So not spending more than what you can afford, and a budget really helps with that. Okay. So if you have questions on why we prepare a budget, you can hit me up in the Google Meet later, but let's briefly go into the different aspects of a budget, and then I will turn you loose for practice. So when it comes to a budget, there are two overarching budget, what we call line items. Line items are just the things that you spend money on every month. And the reason we do budgets monthly, because most people get at least one paycheck a month, if not 2 to 4 paychecks a month. And most of our bills and expenses are paid on a monthly basis. So the two overarching, and I have costs here, and so that's my first mistake, because they're actually expenses. We're not a business. If you think back to the cost unit when we were talking about production, there were two types of costs, fixed and variable. And if you remember, fixed costs were the same every month, and variable costs changed with production. Well, much like that, when you have a personal budget, fixed expenses are bills or expenses you have to pay every month, but you can count on them being the same every month. Whereas variable expenses change from month to month. You don't know how much you're going to spend on these. Now, I threw some examples up here. There's lots more line items that can fall under these. Some of them you'll see with the activity. But examples of fixed expenses are your rent and your mortgage payment, going to be the same every month. Car payment, if you have one, it's going to be the same every month. Any insurance you take out, it's going to be billed monthly. And then a savings. It's important for you to budget for a savings so that you have money in the long run. Now, a savings account can be just a bank savings account. It can be something like a money market fund, a mutual fund. There's lots of different ways to save money. And the beauty of saving not only allows you to accrue wealth over time, but also if you open any type of savings account, you actually get paid for having money in that account in the form of interest. And while it's a small percentage at the start, the more you save, the more money you make just by having money sit into that account. So whenever you get your paycheck, it's a good idea to budget and pay yourself first and throw money into savings. Also, you never know when there's an emergency down the road, and it's always good to have a savings to kind of dip into instead of going out and opening a line of credit, which again, we'll talk about credit next week, but you want to avoid that at all costs. Some variable expenses that go into budgeting. Utilities. Okay, utilities was a fixed expense with production for the most part. For us, it is a variable expense. In the warmer months, you're going to spend more money on heat. Whereas you turn the heater off, like this nice week we're having this week, you're probably going to turn the heater down or off, so your heat bill won't be as much. Travel, the cost of gas. You don't know how much it's going to cost to fill up your tank from day to day. So you may spend more or less money on travel every month. Entertainment. Budget some stuff for yourself. If you can afford it, it may not be much. It may be $10 a month, maybe $50 a month. Go see a movie. Buy a video game. All of that falls under entertainment. Go out to eat with friends, right? Set a budget, stick to it, so that way you know exactly how much fun you can have a month with the money you have without going over. You'd hate to go out to dinner with friends and have an overdraft fee of $35 show up because you didn't keep track of how much money you had. And that, hamburger that cost $6 ends up costing you $41. You don't want that. And then also you don't want your card to be declined too, in a lot of people. It's embarrassing. And it's fine to say. Most people won't judge you for it because it's happened to everybody. Heck, it happened to me back when I was in college a couple times. But if you set a budget and stick to it and budget even fun activities like entertainment, those things won't happen to you. That comes with the peace of mind. And then discretionary down here at the bottom. Discretionary is different than savings in that discretionary is a small amount you set aside each month that also accrues from month to month if you don't spend it, meaning your discretionary fund will grow from month to month. And that's just something you can't predict that you would spend the money on, but that you would buy if the opportunity presented itself. You could be at the store. It could be a new pair of jeans or a dress or a new pair of shoes, a phone case, anything that may come up that you want to buy. If you've budgeted for it, you have the peace of mind. You can buy it right then and there without consulting anything or opening a new line of credit. Okay. So, and basically with the budget, what you do is you just go down and you decide how much you can spend every month based on your income on these different things. Now, in your activity, there is going to be a suggested amount of your income that you budget for different things each month, and I'll pull it up right here. So rent, mortgage shouldn't be more than 30% of your net pay. Utilities shouldn't be more than 10% of your net pay. Even though you don't know how much your utilities are, you should figure out the average cost of your utilities and set aside that much money each month. And then you can go through these later on the activities, but these are the suggested amount you should budget for everything each month. So finally, we talk about net pay. What is net pay? How do you calculate it? Well, it's really easy. Net pay is the money you get to take home in your paycheck every month. It's your money after taxes and other things that come out of your paycheck. And it's really easy to calculate. And I'm leaving this up here, and I'm going to pull up a calculator here just so you can see. We'll go step by step. Okay. So to calculate your monthly your net monthly income, you're going to take your salary. So let's just take an even number. Assume you make $50,000 a year. You're going to divide that by 12 because there's 12 months a year. Okay, and that's how much you make a year gross before taxes and other expenses. But your paycheck isn't going to show that much money. Your paycheck is going to show how much you have left after taxes are taken out. So to do that, all you have to do is multiply by your tax rate, which there is a tax table that I would show you normally in class, but for our activity, I'm just going to give you the tax rate. If you make $50,000 a year, you pay 25% in taxes. So you just multiply this number times 0.25, which is 25%, okay, which gives you that amount. And then you subtract that from your gross monthly income to get your net monthly income. So 1,041, let me do this again, divided by 12, minus 1,041.66. Your paycheck would be $3,125, and that's how much money you have to spend every month and what you would budget for. Okay, Try to cram a lot there into that 15 minutes or so. Go ahead and get to work and then join up with the Google Meet using the code below. Make sure you sign up and say you were here and then ask me any questions, and we will see you next week. Thanks, guys.